Hello, everyone. Welcome to the October 1st, well, probably by the time this goes up, October 2nd edition of the Noise Brigade. We are finally in fall proper. Obviously, I don't realize this other than the calendar because I'm in Florida. Tom, how the hell are you?
You said that, and it's been like 2 weeks now, and I just realized that, yeah, we are in fall, aren't we?
We are. We are. And
But I'd say that, but we had our high school had the homecoming parade today, this afternoon, and it was 80, like 2 degrees. So,
God, dude. All right, look. So while real quick, let's diverge from our path that we had set, just to discuss that because you and I both we don't live. We've mentioned this multiple times. We don't live where we grew up, and we got used to certain things being at certain times of year and certain times of year feeling a certain way. You now live in Kentucky. I now live in Florida, and nothing feels the same to me.
no, you're absolutely right. It's weird. About this time of year or into October, we always take the kids to a local pumpkin patch, and unfortunately, for various reasons, they've decided to shut our operations. But we have all these pictures over the years, and a lot of them are in just jeans and a t-shirt, right? But there's been a couple times where we're all bundled up, ski hat, parka type jackets, because it snows here in October. Not
Yeah,
often, but it does. But
get
then
out,
you'll have
really,
days like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and it did last year, like I think it was like 4 or 5 inches. And but then we have days like today where it's 82 degrees. So yeah, it's really weird.
dude. That's nuts. Because even
Yeah.
Jersey, you would think Jersey would get colder or snow before Kentucky would.
So the only way I can describe this, and again, I'm not a meteorologist, so my apologies if I offend anyone. But you know how like whenever they talk about like the polar vortex and that dips down,
Oh, gotcha. I see
so
where
if
you're
it if,
going.
right, so if it comes out from the north, because like we're south of Iowa and all those states that are really really cold in the wintertime.
Right.
So like whenever that thing hits, like I've seen it to where Jersey's like in the double digits, 10, 15 degrees. Down here it can be like 0 or like -5. Like that's just it's not common, but it happens. And um I think the only difference for us here is that there's such a abrupt change. It's not gradual like we had growing up.
Right.
It's just the changes we get here all smack you in your face, and that's why we get all the tornadoes and all that craziness.
Right.
So, you know.
So, we when we were in school, like did you guys at Lambs Road, did you just go to Disney for spring or for senior trip?
No, we took a cruise.
Oh,
Yeah, to the Bahamas.
are you are you kidding me right now?
No, you didn't know that?
How did I not know that?
So we had planned Disney initially, and it was cost prohibitive. It was cheaper for us to do a cruise. I'm not kidding.
Get out. Dude, that's ridiculous. I don't know how I didn't know that considering, the history. I really didn't know. I don't know how I didn't know that. That's
Yeah, yeah.
insane. Um, well, I was just thinking, like, along those same lines with how homecoming is different and the seasons are different, and everything. I wonder where the heck kids from Florida go for senior trip.
Alaska.
I maybe. I mean, the only thing I can figure is that we went down there and it was, oh, you get to enjoy the sun and be out, and like, where the only place to go from here that's going to be hotter is hell. I mean, and we're hell adjacent as it is, so I just don't know. I feel like that's not a far enough trip. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I really have no idea. It's one of those things I never thought about.
because I think they're like most of them. The way they do it is they have like senior night out, and most of them go to Disney. Like the school district and everything plans a trip, like a day trip.
Right.
But I wonder what they do for senior trip. I'm gonna have to look into that now. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
ask.
you're gonna have to research. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll get back to us and let us know. Um,
Yeah, that's cool because like yeah, no, ours was different. And it was and funny enough, it was the only one I've ever been on. So it still means a lot to me just for the experience part of it.
All right. Well, while we're speaking of things that happened while we were seniors in high school, that kind of brings to mind a certain video game system that's getting a little bit of uh, notoriety right now.
Yeah. So Nintendo Switch Online, which is a really cool service. It's a few different things you can do with it right now, and it's a paid service, and you can pay for what there's like a single subscription and like what a family plan, right?
Yes. So the single year or single person, I think it's like 20 or $25, and then the family plan is 35.
Yeah, yeah. So, but they have, online old NES games and Super Nintendo games that you can play, and you can play multiplayer too online, which is really cool. And then you have things like Tetris 99 and Pac-Man 99, and just some other, little odds and ends they've thrown in there. And it's for your money. I mean, it to me, I've gotten my money's worth out of it just for the price. I mean, it's really not bad.
Oh, absolutely. And I know people complain about it, but that's not going to be us. I know that you enjoy it. I enjoy it. I think for $25, man, it's really not that bad a deal. My only gripe is that there's not more games to choose from and you can't download them permanently. Like I wish that I could. There's certain NES and SNES games that I wish I could just have on my system forever.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's a bit, like everything else, it's a subscription type service, and they've gone with this idea of an expansion pack, where now it's going to be almost tiered. Which I made a comment here. I don't know what subscription service doesn't like to do that these days. Netflix has had the tiered things for a long time now, even back to when, if you recall, they would have these initial offerings years ago about how many DVDs you would get in the mail. And
Right.
then it was like you could get DVDs with your streaming service. And so the tiered thing has been around for a long, long time. And this is no different. But the Nintendo tiers, what are they adding?
So they're adding Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games.
Yeah, I was super psyched about both. Big Genesis fan. You and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
64 now. This is awesome. I mean, and some of the titles that they've announced, Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, and just a lot of these like really iconic games. But the other thing, we've talked about this too on this before. Boy, there's going to be a whole lot of games that we may never see there.
Oh yeah. So I mean, what's cool for me is, I mean, I obviously we've discussed video games ad nauseum. We know that I have every Nintendo system, a Genesis, a Dreamcast, PS3, all that crap. And so for me, most of these games I own in one way, shape, or form, whether it's on the NES Classic or SNES Classic, or having the actual physical cartridges. But it's nice to have them all in one place, and like you said, with the online multiplayer, because I could play Mario Kart 64 whenever I want. I can't play Mario Kart 64 against you or Mark or Richie or whoever else before. Now I can, because I'm going
Yeah.
to get this expansion pack.
Yep. Yeah. And the other cool thing too, and I did this with the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo. Not that I use the controllers a lot, but they're offering the controllers again.
Yes.
So they will have the offering for the Genesis controller and the 64 controller. And the minute that I see those go live, I'm put my name in, because for whatever reason I like controllers.
Well, no, dude, I'm with you. And the only complaint that I have, and this is where I will rag on Nintendo a little bit. So the controllers are both, I want to say $60. Is that what the price point that they came down at?
Yeah, I believe so. And I think they were either 50 or 60 for the NES and the Super Nintendo ones as well. So that's not
Right.
surprising.
Well, but the SNES and the NES ones, it was a 2-pack. Or no, the SNES one
No,
wasn't a 2-pack, but it was only $30. So it was
that's right. That's right.
$60,
Yeah.
$60 for the NES controllers,
That's
$30
right.
for the SNES controller, $60 or $50 for this Nintendo 64 and for the Genesis. And not only is it just one Genesis controller, It's not even the 6 button.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think there's a couple things for that. One, they know that people are going to pay it, but two, obviously, things are just bananas, especially in video game world with the cost of things, especially hardware. So that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I'd still certainly be willing to pay
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I'll listen, at the end of the day, am I probably going to snag one just to have because it's cool? Yes, because I want a Sega Genesis controller with a Nintendo label on it.
Right. And how cool is that? Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, now you tell 8th grade Bobby that, and he's fighting you in an alley. But me, I think it's kind of cool because it's honestly what I would like to see is I'd like to see either Microsoft or Nintendo buy Sega. Just buy them outright, make it console exclusive, because I feel like maybe not Microsoft because they don't really seem to know what the heck they're doing with most of these publishers they're buying, but maybe Nintendo buys Sega and Sega becomes a premier brand again. And what I mean by that is, Sonic games don't suck every other game. You don't have to
Right.
rely on a Sonic Mania to come out that's essentially a fan made game that ends up getting Sega's blessing to be a good game, because Sonic Forces sucks. Sonic, I don't know, just name a Sonic game that's come out since the Genesis came out, and it probably sucks because Sega has lost their way. I don't want Werewolf Sonic. I just want Sonic the Hedgehog to play like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. And there's only a handful of Sonic games that I even touch for that reason. Because quite frankly, some of those oddball ones just aren't worth my time. But the thing I'm really looking forward to on both sides of it is, you know, just revisiting some games that, yeah, I've played them, somewhat recently, particularly like, Super Mario 64 with, the re-release on the Switch. But there's other games that, you cherish when you're younger, but then you might not have played again. So I'm kind of looking forward to revisiting.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be fun, and I'm just yeah, definitely excited about that. I'm just curious, what do you think the price point might be for the expansion edition or tier, if you will?
I'm thinking probably another $10 a month, or $10, $10 to $15 is what I'm thinking. Um, I think that'll probably do it.
Yeah, I think it's going to jump the family plan to 49.99,
Yep.
and then I think you're right. I think it'll jump that 115, and then it'll jump the single one up to another 10. I think you're
Yeah.
spot on. That's exactly what I thought.
That's the way I'm looking at it. And I see your note here. Will we ever get any rare titles? Banjo Kazooie is one of the initial launches, and that was a rare title.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that whenever I made that note, but I was in my head, obviously. I'd realized that is, but I'm talking about our really favorite rare titles.
Uh, no, dude, no, I would love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for it. And um it did make a comeback on the rare replay that came out for the Xbox One. And amazingly enough, so here's the funny thing. Not only did they put Conker's Bad Fur Day on that disc, they didn't use the Xbox one. They used the N64 one.
Yeah, right. And I remember you saying this before, and that's what I really meant with that is that are we seeing games like that or you know
Oh, I'd love to see.
GoldenEye, which we'll never see that.
No, 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 no.
Perfect Dark, I think, has a chance.
Was Perfect
But
Dark? Oh yeah, Perfect Dark was rare.
Perfect Dark, to me, was the like spiritual successor to, because it was the same thing to Goldeneye. I mean, it was
Right.
that's basically how that was. Um, I could see that coming ahead of obviously Goldeneye, and it's just because of the movie rights. I think that's going to be the killer right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Conker's, yeah, that I don't know that it would ever see the light of day on there. However, you did make mention that they did release Night Trap for the Switch,
Yeah.
so There's hope
This is
yet.
true. So I mean, you never know. And honestly, like if you look at it, the N64 games that were hits from Rare. So you're looking at Blast Core, which was on the Rare replay. Maybe we'll see that over. Again, we mentioned Conker's Bad Fur Day. I would love to see it. I don't know that it's going to happen. You've got a game that many people probably expect to go on and don't really think about when they think of Rare games, but Donkey Kong 64.
Mm-hmm.
And another game in that similar vein, Diddy Kong Racing.
Yep.
Which,
Yeah.
if Diddy Kong Racing is on there, that's a phenomenal win too, because that'll be. I don't have you played Diddy Kong Racing?
I have, but it's been a long time.
All right, so this is one that Peyton and I for a while we would play, and he would get so mad at me, but it's such a fun game, and it's cool because if you haven't played Diddy Kong Racing, the way it works is it's Mario Kart, but obviously with Diddy Kong characters. So you have Conker in there pre Bad Fur Day, so when he was still just like a happy-go-lucky little good guy with a squeaky voice. But the cool thing is, not only does it have an overworld map, and that's how you get to the different tracks, but you have 3 different vehicle types. You have your normal land vehicle, you have a hovercraft, which like is basically a boat, and then you have a little biplane. So you have the 3 different types, and it really switches it up and it makes it a lot more fun. Um, and then there's some cool battle modes. I actually like the battle modes in Diddy Kong Racing more than I like them in Mario Kart. So I know, blasphemy, but they're damn good.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other good ones they do throw on there for the initial release titles. Majora's Mask, Legend of Zelda title, and then also Ocarina of Time, which is pretty awesome. And then there's a couple of other good ones too that I think kind of under the radar releases. Paper Mario is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually kind of get the ever interesting. I don't think I've ever played this, but I've seen it many times reviewed as such a really good game as Kirby 64. I never played
Yes.
that, but I've always seen like really good reviews on that. So I'm kind of curious because Tommy got big into Kirby, so I'm excited to kind of jump into that one. I might have played it, but I just don't recall ever playing it. I remember playing obviously the older titles, but I
Right.
don't ever remember playing that one. So that one kind of jumped out at me as one I'm definitely looking forward to trying out.
So that one is one that I really should have played by now. I don't own the cartridge. I own the Kirby's Dream Collection for the Wii, and it's
Mm-hmm.
on there. It's got every
Okay.
single which if you can find it, that might be a good one to get for Tommy. It's got every single, like all the 2D from the Game Boy, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo, and then it's got Kirby 64, and I think it has like 1 or 2 other games on it. It's a really good collection. It came out for the Wii years ago. It was really fun. But speaking of Kirby, and not to get too far off track, but you saw the announcement of Kirby and the Forgotten World.
I did. Yeah, I did. So that's exciting. The good to see, the brand, move into the future.
Yes. Shoot, we might have to do. I mean, we're a little bit late, but we might have to do a separate episode just on that Nintendo Direct that came out, because
Yeah, definitely. No, I
there's some
agree. I just yeah, for our episode here now, I just thought, hey, let's at least jump into the expansion pack. But yeah, no, you're absolutely dead on.
So let's transition. I'm going to shuffle a little bit because we've got a couple topics on here, and I want to save the 3 big ones for last, because we discussed pre-recording that this might have to have an explicit label, and I'm going to try and keep my calm on it. But the 3 topics we're going to talk about at the end are going to rile me up, get the blood boiling a little bit. So we're going to talk about something that doesn't. We're going to talk about the Amazon robot and the Amazon drone that are being released. You can sign up to potentially have the right to buy one of these products. So we have 2 different things. I'm going to talk about the one first and get your opinion. We've talked about this a little bit prior to recording. So you came up with a really good one for Mr. Astro. So Astro is going to be the Amazon robot. It's going to basically be a rolling. Oh, I can't say the word because if I do, it's going to set off my Echo. Um,
A rolling turd.
well, okay, well, yeah. So yeah, so we go with that. Dude, honestly, it looks really cool, and I like the face. Like the face is super cute, and I totally want to get one and name it Wally. But I'm not willing to spend $1,000 on it.
No, no. I read about this more in detail today. Um, uh, look, I think it's one of those well-intentioned, really neat, type of security devices. Um, but I don't know that I want a miniature Johnny Five running around on my floor.
Now, I think the best thing you said about it was because we were talking yesterday, I think, and there was an article for some people who supposedly worked on it, and they were saying that it was terrible and that it would throw itself downstairs, and you came up with a good one. The year is 2021. The robots have become self-aware. They realized how shitty everything is and started to throw themselves down the stairs.
Yeah, and that's probably what happened. Seriously, they're testing it out. They even realized what was going on. They're like, nope, we're out. I
So
mean,
yeah, you're not wrong, man. But I just as cool as it would be to have a robot, I can't justify $1,000 on a glorified Echo.
yeah, no, it's an insane price point. And look, it's a cool, again, I never thought in a million years that we would be, and I always look back at like Back to the Future Part Two, with some of the automation stuff in the home when they go, they're looking in the, actually jumps into the future, which is what I believe like 2015 or something.
Yeah, it was 2015, so 6 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. But it's still funny though, because, that was kind of at the cusp of whenever a lot of this stuff was really hitting.
Yeah.
And so, it was not spot on, but it was fairly accurate for how certain things that end up happening,
Oh, absolutely.
with the lights and being able to, kind of talk that out. It's really cool. That's kind of where the buck stops with me on that. Yeah, I like having the automation things for that, or playing music, maybe looking at pictures from the little displays because it's like a virtual photo frame. I'm not too keen on having little things either run around on my floor or the other thing that they've.
So
So, yeah. So, what's the other thing that they've decided to release here?
it's a hunter killer drone. I mean, it's supposed to lock into your Ring camera system and everything, and it's this little flying quadcoptery little camera that flies around your house, and you can go look and see if your stove is on, or you can scare the piss out of your animals, or you can, you know, run it into your kid's head. I don't know. Like I really like I get it. It's kind of cool, but and it's only $250, so it's much better in price than Astro. Um, but I don't think it's there yet.
No, this thing, I was reading about it. The battery life is 5 minutes.
What?
That's your flight. That's your flight time. Yep.
Get out.
No, it's 5 minutes, which makes a lot of sense. So I have a bit of experience flying the DJI Phantom drones, and their battery life is maybe 15 to 20 minutes with the standard battery.
Wow.
Yeah, they're not long at all. I mean, it's just not much to it. I think you could eke like half an hour out of one of those things if you're really, paying attention. So that the 5 minute thing didn't surprise me, but then it was like, so what am I getting out of those 5 minutes? And like, what are you doing? Like, am I just gonna fly it out? Oh, you know what? I forgot to close the garage door. I just want to fly it around there to see if it actually, if I can see out my door to see if it closed. These things, I don't know, but yeah, like you said, the hunter killer. Um, this did remind me of the flying vessels from the Terminator. I mean, that's what the dang thing is. And I think Ars Technica had a great quote here about it. This is a quadcopter, so like every other quadcopter, it'll be slightly quieter than a flying chainsaw. It's just so good.
And less useful. Like,
Exactly.
that's the thing. Like, so with 5 minutes, all right, so 5 minutes of flight time. If it's going to be that, I'm going to need it to do a little more for me if it's only going to fly for 5 minutes. So, say I do leave I'm going to need to be able to open doors and press buttons, because if I do leave my garage door open, then I'm going to need it to be able to press the button to close the garage door.
Yeah. And it's funny. This is the conversation I actually got into earlier today with someone about these devices. And like I said, I'm kind of set on what I like. I like the lights and I like the music stuff. But they also have like, door locks that are smart. I'm sorry, but I'm not connecting that to the internet.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Right.
And these things like the little robot on the floor, yeah, it's pretty cool. But I'll be honest, even if that was $200, I'm still not buying it. Quite frankly, because one, it'd probably get ruined.
Oh yeah.
And two, yeah, it would be self-aware and realize what year it's in. And yeah, I have stairs.
Yeah. Hey, that's where I have a leg up on you, because I don't have stairs, so it's gonna have to try.
So yours might last. Yeah, yours might last.
I mean, it'll probably like try and go out in the traffic or something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it'll do. It'll find itself into an alligator's mouth.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? There's a canal across the street. So if if it wanted to, it could probably go swimming.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, look, these things are cool and whatever, fun little toys, I guess, if you will. And I'm sure they're going to be, especially there are some really neat, well-intentioned things, I think, with the robot. Like you said, to check to see if your oven's still on. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did see on there, which is kind of cool, was that, basically, it's a rolling version of of an existent device, and it could, I saw one of the pictures on their website was, it was with an older individual, and I guess they were supposed to be talking to like their child or something, or their whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what, that's pretty cool, but I don't know, not enough for me to say, is it worth having a little thing running around your house?
That's where, once we get it to the point where it's a little bit more functional, I'm 100% behind it, especially for older folks who live on their own.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Who need companionship, because I think that it could fill a void that maybe, if they can't take care of a pet, or, they live for whatever reason, there's not family to always come and check on them and stuff. It would be cool to have that around. They could talk to it and do whatever, and I think that would be good, and especially if it could help with medications and stuff like that. But I mean, we're definitely far off from that part of it, but this is a good step in that direction.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think there are always some well-intentioned things with products like this, but for the most part, like you said, we're not there, and it just, yeah, I could see some really bad things happening on either one of these.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So speaking of bad things, let's get into the other three topics we have, and I'm gonna.
Which one are you gonna do first?
Here's what we're gonna do, man. We're gonna start with Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not as big a Sixers fan as, number one, I used to be, and number two, as I am of the other teams. I love Joel Embiid. I think he's a fantastic talent. I used to think Ben Simmons was a fantastic talent until 2 years ago is when I started to question whether I shouldn't say whether he was a fantastic talent, because he has all the talent in the world. He just doesn't use it.
Right. It's the prima donna type.
Right. Dude don't want to shoot. He don't want to shoot the ball, and he doesn't want to take any responsibility for anything either.
No, and it's it's not healthy. You had mentioned this to me yesterday, and I really was kind of on the periphery of knowing what was going on. And unfortunately, it seems like he's kind of fallen into something that's very commonplace now. It seems to be in pro sports and particularly the NBA. What is it with these holdouts and what these guys are doing? I mean, come on.
I don't get it, man. And that's part of the reason why I'm not a huge NBA fan, is because it's gotten to the point where people just, oh, this is, I want to play with this player and this player, so we're all gonna hold out of our teams until we all get traded or we all get released or whatever. And they make these pacts where, like, okay, I'll play with this team, and then when my contract runs out, everybody's gonna come to this team. And I don't I don't really like that. Like, I mean, it's cool if that's what you want to do. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I personally don't enjoy that. Um, and I guess it's more or less because basketball is such a small amount of players that can really affect how good your team is, because you've only got five starters. So, and you're only playing five people at a time. It's not like hockey where you're rolling lines, and so you've got to have 20 good talented players and a good goalie. It's not like football where you've got 22 different guys that are taking the field on offense and defense. It's
Yeah, you
not
could
like,
go like 7 or 8 deep in basketball is really all you need.
right. So to me, it makes it easier for players to kind of like shape the league more than, and players holding out and everything really affects franchises, where it's just different in other sports. Um, and what really pisses me off in this situation is Ben Simmons. This team has catered to Ben Simmons. Everything they've done since he got here has been to build around him. And for him to say, "Oh, this isn't on me. This is that," blaming other people, and basically saying that it's the team's fault, and making up any excuse other than, "Hey, I don't want to shoot the ball." Even Joel Embiid came out and said, "Listen, no, we've done everything around you. We got rid of Jimmy Butler. There's been so many players through here that we could have kept, that we didn't, because we were trying to make everybody's play style work with Ben's." Joel Embiid. So Ben Simmons came out and said, "I can't play with Joel Embiid. I'm not going to reach my potential playing with him because of the way he plays." Well, Ben, he's been playing the way he's been playing to cater to you, pal. So maybe you need to rethink that.
Yep. It's I think writing's on the wall. It's time. Whatever, however it ends up shaking out, but he doesn't need to be a Sixer anymore. And I'm going to be honest, like I really stopped following religiously post the Allen Iverson years. I followed by reading some articles, and I watch occasional highlights and stuff. Um, but a lot of the NBA stuff I just really got away from, and it has nothing to do with these prima donna type players. I just I have a hard time sitting there watching a 170 to 155 game. That's just, there's no defense, there's no chess like style things going on, where it's like, oh, look at this. It's just, yeah, whatever, we're just going to shoot threes, we're just going to do whatever. It just doesn't entice me anymore.
Right.
I love watching college basketball. I was privileged enough to go to a school that has an amazing college basketball pedigree. Murray State occasionally shows up in the tournament, and we've had some NBA guys come out with and quite frankly, some of the better ones for us, over the last several years, Isaiah Cannon, who actually was a Sixer at one time. He's one that I think about. Cameron Payne, but then the biggest one for us was John Morant. So like, these guys I like to follow, but overall, and these guys like Ben Simmons, to me, just do not help me want to think, oh, you know what? Let's just start watching the Sixers again religiously. Not going to help.
So speaking of personnel playing the blame game, let's move on to the Phillies.
Yeah, you shared an article with me yesterday, and we talked about this. And I'll be honest, I can't remember if we talked about this on here, or just off podcast. But let's be honest here: the Phillies have not had any consistency from their minor system since the days of Utley and Rollins, Hamels, Ryan Howard. There's been nothing there, and there's you and I kind of hinted at this again on or off podcast. There's something rotten in the system. And what was that article that you shared with me?
So Matt Gelb came out, and this was on Bleacher Report, and he basically said that there's been reports that the entire minor league system has a toxic culture, and that people are just stabbing each other in the back. They're not worried about doing what's best for the players or for the team. They're looking out for number one. And this isn't players. This is the people, the coaches, the managers, the people that are supposed to be developing talent aren't worried about developing talent. They're more worried about covering their own asses. And that's not how you run a successful minor league program. It's not how you run a successful anything. But when you're supposed to be building young players and developing young talent, you can't do it if you're not focusing on doing that.
Yeah, and that's what really hit me hard is you have personnel and really any organization. This isn't just talking about the Phillies minor league system, but this is what's apparently happening there. Whenever they begin to blame each other for whatever shortcomings there are, there's nothing that's getting accomplished. So whether you're talking about scouting or player development or even coaching, and they're not working together in balance, because basically it's like, hey, we need to scout. We found this guy. We drafted him. We need to develop him. We know that, hey, you know what? These 4 tools he's awesome at, but this 5th tool, we don't know. We can't field the way we would like in the field, or he just, maybe he slots in a different position better, those sorts of things. And if they're not developing that way, you're not going to have anyone come through. And guess what's happened over the last several years? Yeah, we've had like a few guys come through that have done some things, but even a guy like Aaron Nola. Look, Aaron Nola was a damn good college ball player from LSU. He already had a good pedigree. He didn't need anything in the Phillies minor system. In fact, I'd be, again, take me to task here on this, but I would suggest that if he would have spent any more time in the Phillies minor system, he probably would have been a worse major league player.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I mean, the little bit of time, I feel like the little bit of time that he spent there did already screw him up enough, because he's not the same. I mean, obviously, nobody's going to be the same player that they are in, when they're playing in college and they're playing against lesser talent. But he seems every September, this dude falls apart.
Yeah.
And even during the regular season now, when he had previously been pretty good, you could make a case for him to be a 1B to Zach Wheeler's 1A. Even this season, he wasn't able to put it together for consecutive starts.
No, not at all. And what's a real shame too, and I don't mean to be ill of these type of guys, but when the excitement is, hey guys, we got Freddie Galvis back, there's a real problem.
Oh yeah.
There should be an excitement at that point in the year of, hey, so-and-so from the minors is coming up. We've got this young kid who was like a Jimmy Rollins or a Chase Utley. That hasn't happened in years. And that's a problem. And it's unfortunate. Like, look, we have guys like Bryce for a long time. JT's locked up for years, and Zach Wheeler. And we got these guys that are high paid talent. But look, they're 3 players, and they ain't doing it all. And these high-end free agents that we've gotten, they need to be coupled with homegrown talent. Traditionally, that's what's worked. And unless your plan is to spend more money, which I don't see that happening, and even then, that's just not successful many times. You even look at like really big money, spenders like the Dodgers. Boy, they've had some pretty good homegrown talent come through them. even, and we can't say that for the last what? How many years now is it that we haven't sniffed the playoffs?
It's been 10 years since we've played in the playoffs. But since the last major contributor, I mean, do we count Reese Hoskins? Do we count I'm just trying to think. I can't think. Nola is, Ranger Suarez we got from the Rangers.
Hoskins is a good. I think he's a good one to say of contributing for the minors, but again, there's a couple things with him.
Right.
He has health issues at times. It's hard to keep him on the field all the time.
I mean, if you look at their top hitting prospects, so I'm talking Adam Hazley, Mickey Moniak, Alec Baum. I'm trying to remember who else I believe they even included Roman Quinn in there. And I think there was somebody else. They hit 219 this year.
Yeah.
Not nearly good enough.
No, terrible. And even Hoskins himself now, kind of smashed. He's a 30 home run guy every year. That's just who he is. But, consistent plays not there, and quite frankly, there's a ton of 30 home run guys in the majors.
Right.
So, you need that extra special. He he's not JT and he's not Bryce to me at all. That's just how I like him, but that's not who he is. So, yeah, until we get, a player like a Nutley or a Rollins or, someone like that. And I think that was the other thing too. Look at Scott Kingery. Scott Kingery was supposed to be the second coming of Chase Utley, basically. Right.
And we signed him to that big deal before the first game of the season. Was it 2019 or 2018?
Yeah, they signed him to if I remember correctly, it was a 6-year, $24 million deal. And it was akin to the Salvador Perez deal that the Royals did. Basically, none or very limited playing time. They locked him up for several years for very little money. And unfortunately for the Phillies, Salvador Perez is probably bound for the Hall of Fame at this point. And Scott Kingery, what is he doing? I
think he's headed for the Waffle House.
Yeah, it's a shame.
International House of Pancakes,
So whether that's the minor league system or a combination of him and the minor league system, but yeah, things need to change there, because if this is still happening, they won't sniff the playoffs for another 10 years.
No, I mean, and I'm sure they're popping the champagne corks today over clinching a winning season finally, but they shouldn't be, not. And I know that the players aren't, management is not. I know Joe Girardi's not happy. That's not his, doing it for him. But I'm sure that the upper level is, oh well, at least we didn't lose the season. We finished with the winning record. That's not good enough for me. That's not good enough for you. It's not good enough for the fans. It's not good enough for the players. And they've got to do better than that. They have to. It's unacceptable for a major market baseball team to have this kind of, and I know they're the worst, and I'm not saying this as hyperbole. They're literally the worst professional sports team in history. They have the most losses, and it's not even close. And they've got the worst winning percentage of any professional sports team in America. And I'd say probably the world, but I don't want to go that far because I don't know that for a fact. But yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And on that note, to finish up the baseball part of this before we get into the really, really, really bad stuff, Cardinals win 17 in a row?
Yeah.
They're winning the World Series this year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the Cardinals are winning the World Series.
Book it. That's just how they are. All right. The last thing here.
Jesus Christ. So I'm going to need another drink for this.
We saved the worst for last.
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, if you listened, Tom and I went through the Eagles schedule and we did our best to figure out how the season was going to go for the Eagles. And, I think we might have been wrong. I think we might have been way, way, way wrong.
It was funny. You and I went through week one, and you're like, "Yeah, they're gonna lose," and I was like, "Nah, if you have a good feeling, they're gonna win," and they did. What week one was awesome,
Yeah,
and I even
it was
texted. I was
fantastic.
like, I even texted. I was like, "Haha, I told you they were gonna win,"
You did
and yeah, and boy, the fun stopped there.
in a big way. In a big way.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
so one of the big reasons that I was so happy to see Doug Peterson go after being the only coach to ever win a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. And let that sink in, because that doesn't happen lightly in Philadelphia. The only coach to ever lead us to the promised land. And the reason I wanted him gone was because his play calling was atrocious. And it was atrocious the in the way that he forgot that the run game existed. And so we get Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni, you know, all right, well, we saw how he used the backs in as an offensive coordinator in Indianapolis. And he's pretty good with the running game. He's pretty good with it. And then we go out and we get Kenneth Gainwell in the draft. We bring back Jordan Howard. We bring back or we bring in Kerryon Johnson or Kerryon Bell. I don't remember. He's not here anymore anyway. But anyway, we load up the backfield is essentially the point of this. Only to get to the point where we don't run the ball at all.
And who's running is always Jalen Hurts.
Right. So Jalen Hurts. Let's start with QB Eagles for a second here.
QB Eagles 2.
QB Eagles 2. So QB Eagles 2 started off on fire against the Falcons. He was really good. Completion percentage was good. Was making smart plays. Was a little bit tentative with the deep ball. Did not throw a deep ball the entire game. Avoided the center of the field. Okay, we won the game, so I'm not picking them apart. Then we get the game against San Francisco, where QB Eagles 2 decides that I'm just going to call him QB2. So QB2 goes out there and he starts trying to get a little bit of depth on his passes. Isn't able to really do what we're expecting. Their defense, credit to their defensive backs for bottling up Devontae Smith and keeping the short game or keeping the long game under wraps. But then again, we also had a 91-yard completion to Quez Watkins, which brought us down to, I believe, their 5-yard line or 3-yard line or something like that. And then the genius, Nick Sirianni, can't figure out whether he's trying to get the ball into the end zone or up his own ass. And instead of trying to run the ball like you do when you're within 5 yards of the fucking goal line, this stupid motherfucker tries all kinds of fucking trick plays and tries to throw the fucking ball with a fucking running back or a fucking wide receiver. Now, granted, he used to be a quarterback, but he fucking sucked at being a quarterback, and that's why he's a fucking wide receiver now, you dumb motherfucker. You don't throw the fucking ball with a fucking wide receiver when you're in the fucking goal line in the red zone like that, when you're right up against a fucking goal line. You stupid motherfucker.
You know what I do when I play video games? When I'm within 5 yards, I punt on second down.
Well, you know what? At least the fucking ball would have gone in the fucking end zone if they would have punted.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's just as bad as it was with Doug. It's unfortunate that we're having to sit here and now we're 3 weeks into the season. We're just starting week 4, and this is not looking good.
No,
You and I both called.
We haven't even
No,
gotten to the fucking game against Dallas yet. You think I was
No.
pissed off about the San Francisco game?
Yeah. The thing that really strikes me at this point right now, but we won't, we'll circle back to the Dallas one, is that there is absolutely nothing to look forward to at all. So,
No.
yeah, it's gonna be a
And
long season.
no. You know what? There is some stuff to look forward to. I'm not gonna be that pessimistic yet. There's still
Oh, I
some
am.
teams that we can stomp a fucking mud hole in. But I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at the rest of October. Chiefs loss,
Oh,
Panthers
easy.
loss, Buccaneers loss, Raiders loss. We don't fucking win again until Halloween when we play the Lions. But I'll bet you, guess what? I bet you the Lions come in dressed as a football team, and the Eagles, we don't know what the fuck they're going to come in dressed as.
Yeah, that's the 1 or 2 wins they'll get.
So the Lions, so looking through, okay, so the Lions possibly a win, maybe. But then we play the Chargers, loss. Broncos, loss. Saints, loss. The Giants in week 12. Oh, we'll beat the Giants. We'll beat the Giants. We'll beat the Jets. So good for us. We've got 4 wins. Then we go into the bye, which it's 50-50 whether we'll win or lose the bye. We'll beat Washington, and then they're going to start feeling themselves, and they're going to lose to the Giants in week 16. And then they got to play Washington again, and they'll win that one. And then they'll lose to Dallas at home. Actually, they're going to beat Dallas at home because Dallas is going to have nothing to play for because they're in such a shitty division that they're going to win it, even if they've only got 7 wins. So we're going to finish just good enough to fuck up our draft position. But I still want, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still want them to beat Dallas, especially after they fucking embarrassed us last week.
Yeah, let's yeah. And what's even worse about it too, it was Monday Night Football.
Yeah. So first of all right, it's bad enough that we're on Monday Night Football. I mean, I like being on Monday Night Football, but it's bad enough that we're on it because we got to deal with these assholes slobbing on the fucking Cowboys knobs, talking about how, America's team. Fuck you. Fuck Post Malone and his fucking stupid ass with his stupid fucking Cowboys fucking tattoo and his stupid face tattoos and his shitty music. And he looks like a goddamn homeless version of fucking Shia LaBeouf. Fuck him. Music sucks. He sucks. He fucking ruined Only Want to Be With You by Hootie and the Blowfish. Did you hear that fucking cover? Because that was a goddamn abortion.
No.
It was fucking terrible.
He's not exactly one of my go-tos in my playlists.
Oh, are you sure? I thought you were a big Posty fan.
No.
Well, fuck him. Fuck ESPN and their fucking announcer crew for fucking just sucking off the Cowboys the entire fucking game.
But that's not
great they are.
Uncommon, like that's happened over the years against really any Philly-based team. So yeah, and I didn't, thank God I missed all of that, and no way I was going to go back and witness it. So I was grateful for that part because I was busy. I was busy.
And I thought about maybe putting on the Manning cast because I was like, you know what? All right, well, let's see what Eli and, P Pants is going to talk about, and let's see what Peyton talks about. Because I figured that'd be funny, they'd be going back and forth. And because now that P Pants doesn't play for the Giants, I don't hate him as much. But I was hoping that would be funny. But then I couldn't fucking do that because they had fucking LeBron James on. So, and I don't feel like hearing that stunod fucking talk. Then it's bad enough that we've got all this shit going on with these fucking piece of shit announcers. The refs fucking sucked. Not only that, fucking Sirianni, again, another fucking stunod, fucking can't get his head out of his ass and doesn't run the ball. 3 fucking runs. 3 planned runs because he's running this college fucking offense, this RPO bullshit where everything comes from the fucking shotgun. Well, 95% of the plays come from the fucking shotgun. Does it work? Yeah, every once in a while. But you've got to commit to the fucking run. You can't run the ball 3 times and win in the NFL. Wake up call, Chief. It ain't going to happen. You cannot, especially when your offensive line is falling like fucking so many snowflakes out of the fucking January sky in South Philly. You can't fucking do it. We've got, 3? I think still 3 starters left on the offensive line. And I'm not calling out the line. I'm not saying the line did a bad job. I'm just saying, Landon Dickerson had some growing pains. And they didn't play phenomenally, but they were not the reason we lost that game. Reason number 1, 2, and 3 is the fucking play calling. Reason number 4 is because Jalen Hurts was making some stupid ass boneheaded fucking plays with the ball. It was just it was incredible. I've never seen a team that had such there were such high hopes for this team, at least on for you and I. I mean,
Oh
we
yeah,
had high hopes in the past for teams, and they've fallen off, and it's been okay, whatever. Wow, that sucks, but there was reasonings for it where they didn't show you that they could do it before. They showed you they could do it the season before, but they didn't show you in that same season that they had the ability to do better. And then
right.
this game, we almost beat the Niners. If fucking Sirianni could have figured out how to get the ball into the goddamn end zone when we had it in the again, I'm not going to get fired up over that again. If he could have fucking figured out how to get the ball in the end zone, there's a possibility we win that game.
Yeah, they're 2-1 right now.
Right.
If that point, and that's the funny thing too. And what I mean by there's, going back, I made a comment about not a lot to look forward to. And I think a lot of that just becomes of years and years of being a Philadelphia sports fan, and kind of living in the moment and really kind of looking ahead. But if Dallas was any indication, and then particularly how they lost that game in San Fran against San Fran, I mean, I don't know. The you made a great point, and looking at the schedule ahead, I mean, Kansas City this week, they're done. There's no way.
Right.
There's
And
no
Kansas
way.
City is not even good this year. Kansas
No,
City's
I
coming
mean,
into this game with the same record as us. But
yeah, the thing is, Kansas City has kind of finally met their kryptonite a little bit. Lamar Jackson finally had their number in week 2. But that again, that was a close game. The Chargers game was a bit closer than that score led on to. I think it was like a 6 or an 8 pointer
yeah.
difference. But that's just a matter of, you know, again, they've got their number. Kansas City is not going anywhere this year. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're still a really strong team. Maybe not as strong as last year, but
Right.
too much talent on that team to fail.
Oh, I
Um,
still I still have it's either going to be them the three teams that I have going to the AFC Championship game, and it's three because I don't know if it's going to which of the three it'll be, but I say it's either going to be it'll be the Chiefs, it'll be the Chargers, and it's going to be the Bills. It's going to be two of those three teams are going to be in the AFC Championship game this
yeah,
year.
I think the Chargers are definitely in the picture. They're exciting this year. So, but yeah, to go back on the Eagles, I just look. Obviously, I hope that things turn around. The problem is, and what I mean by not anything to look forward to, is unless you completely adjust your play calling, your any kind of schemes you're running, whatever you're doing, um, there's nothing to look forward to then.
Right.
The schedule's hard enough, and then if you don't adjust what you're doing, we're done in a lot of these games. So
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
you're right. And it sucks bad enough that we lost Brandon Graham. You know,
Right.
Brandon Graham is the heart and soul of that defense, and dare I say, the team. And for him to be gone, okay, I expected a little bit of a drop off. Javon Hargrave is playing his ass off on that defensive line. But aside from him on defense, you got what do you got? Derek Barnett, the human fucking penalty machine. He's got more career penalties than he has career sacks. He was a first round pick. If that doesn't say bust, I don't know what does. And it's not even that he's making, he's making stupid mental mistakes, but he's compounding them with these unacceptable fucking unsportsmanlike conduct penalties where he's hitting people so far after the play and he's doing just stupid shit. Cut that motherfucker right now. Don't even let him suit up for the Eagles again. I don't give a shit if we end up losing money on him. He should not be suiting up for this team ever the fuck again. It's not worth it. He's a dirty player. He's the same as fucking Ndamukong Suh with that dirty ass hit that fucked up Carson's head and turned his brain into a pretzel.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, he's yeah, I don't know. It's just not good. And I'm hoping that look, I have no hopes for this week. Chiefs are going to kill them. Beyond that, I just, once they're 1-3, maybe there's a come to Jesus moment. I don't know. I really don't.
I don't know, man. It's not going to matter because I'm telling you right now, Matt Rule has those Panthers playing lights out. Sam Darnold is finally showing the glimpses of what he should have been in New York if they were competent enough to put a team around him. He's showing that he's actually a good quarterback. Then they play the Bucks, and the Bucks are the Bucks, man. They're gonna whoop the shit out of us. We got the Raiders. The Raiders are going to kick our asses.
Yeah, they're good.
And then, like I said, and we go, okay, so then we have the Lions. And then 2 losses. We have the Chiefs and the Broncos. Jameis Winston has revitalized himself with the Saints. The Saints are going to whoop our asses. Honestly, the only teams that we're beaten, best case scenario at this point, we're finishing with 2, 4, 5, 6. We're finishing with 6 or 7 wins, 8 wins maybe. And that's what sucks is we're going to finish the best case scenario. And I don't ever want to, I'm never going to root for us to lose. I always want us to win every game. Our best case scenario is 8-9, and that fucks us because that messes up our draft position. But at the same time, it also may give Howie or Jeffrey fucking the idea, oh well, we were 8-8 or whatever the fuck we were when in Carson's first year as a starter, and then the next year we were 6-10 that year, but we went the next year we won the Super Bowl. Honestly, if the Jalen Hurts that we've seen in weeks 1 through 3, if that's the best he is, he's not the quarterback. He's not the answer. And I'm not willing to say that's who he is after 3 weeks of, because I don't count last year, honestly.
Yeah,
you can't count last year.
No, he was given very limited window of opportunity to show anything. You really need a full blown season out of him, quite frankly, to just hey, what do we have here? And unfortunately, I think he may end up being a victim of circumstance too, where let's get that full season out of him. But if the plays aren't called right and there's no normal line in front of him based on whatever injury or whatever that may be, sometimes even your good ones just they're not going to shine with the circumstances around them. So
right.
But yeah, I think we did that justice. So let's I don't know, we'll call that a wrap.
I think so. I'm gonna go take some blood pressure medication and try and calm it down a little bit. And as long as I don't have a heart attack between now and next week, we'll get back at it next week.
Definitely, man. Let's have a beer, relax. And we'll come at you. We've got some ideas. Penned down, so we'll definitely throw something at you. And then we're getting Halloween time too, so it's exciting. So we got some things about that, and
yes,
we'll definitely get some new content out sooner than later.
All right. Well, until next time, we have been the Noise Brigade. Make sure that you listen, subscribe, send us a message on Facebook or Twitter or Carrier Pigeon or whatever, man. Just interact with us. Till next time, we'll see you later.
Later on.